Welcome everyone back to week 16 in our Thriving in the New Normal series. It's bittersweet. We're coming to the end, week 16 here, but I think we've got a really exciting program for everybody today. Today we're going to be reviewing everything that we've covered in Thriving in the New Normal in under an hour. So that will be a pretty big feat to tackle and to go over, but I'm excited because there's been a lot of great information shared. And if everybody could make sure to jot down these numbers, put them in your phone, none of our coaches are going away. And if you ever do have any challenges or you have any questions or you're looking for some help, this number and texting any one of these different words is going to bring you to the information that's going to be able to help you to be able to get the answers that you're looking for, to set up an appointment with one of our coaches. You can also go to the Goodman Business Toolbox or the Amana Brand Business Academy and use the Ask a Coach feature where you can type in exactly what your problem is or your question is and set an appointment one-on-one with any one of our coaches that has great information to share with you. Over the last 16 weeks, we've covered a lot of different topics. We've tried to keep it informative and not to be redundant in a lot of the information that we're sharing. And so we're going to be reviewing all of the information that we've covered. We started with creating a plan. We ended with the 7 habits of highly effective HVAC entrepreneurs. And in between, we covered topics that were relevant to helping you thrive in this new normal that we find ourselves in with all of the major disruptions that are happening. We've had an opportunity to learn from you, HVAC contractors. We've had an opportunity to see what is working with different people out there. And it's been encouraging to see the success that many of our HVAC contractors are having as they learn to adapt to all of the situations that we've been in. So I would encourage you to grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and jot down different things that you'd like to go back and review. You can look at which season or session that they were in, and you can go back to the Goodman Business Toolbox or the Amana Brand Business Academy. You're going to click Dealer, and you're going to click Training Resources. There you'll see the Thriving in the New Normal series, and you can watch the different episodes that we've put together. So all of these have been recorded and are available for you to be able to access whenever you're looking to access them. I'm going to go ahead and turn the program over to Miss Jennifer Bagley. She's going to start us off in our journey through the HVAC business cycle. Customer reaches out. And Jennifer is going to be talking about what we've covered over the last 16 weeks and kind of tie it all together in a bow for you, what you can do with the information that has been shared with you. Jennifer?
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody who's here live with us today and those of you that are watching the recording afterwards. Thanks for taking time to work on your business instead of in it. You guys take your phone, snag a photo of this. This is essentially each of the individual topics that we covered, at least in the customer reaches out section. That way, if you want to dive into something such as analytics or e-commerce or becoming an option on page 1 of Google, you can easily do that and find which one of those sessions or which week that session is in. So let's get started on ultimately what all of these things mean when you put them all together. Next. The bottom line is, in this environment, we have to cut the fat and we got to go to work on things that are specifically designed to get results, not just activity. Sometimes we spend time busy being busy. I'm too busy to do the things that are necessary in order to see myself grow. That's where we have to switch. It's not a project. We have to focus on literally implementing those activities that are going to get results. Let me give you some examples. There's some illogical things that have been done over the years, right? If I take our customers and I go through and look at their historic process for looking at their digital marketing presence, what you will notice is that they continually bounce from company to company to company, or they continually rebuild website after website after website. And here's the reality. So this doesn't feel good to hear, but your website doesn't drive leads. Marketing does. Your website contains them and converts them when they get there. It educates consumers. So if you just simply rebuild website after website after website and don't functionally think about the things that get results and make those priorities, essentially you're dressing up another unproductive tool over and over and over again, just changing the outfit. So think about it like this. If you have a domain, www.mywebsite.com, and the domain authority is low, that's how Google looks at your site. And if Google looks at it like this and puts a big L in front of the website or a giant 0 or grades the domain authority less than a 10, changing the outfit on a website is not going to improve the results. Next. If you have a website, so if your website is just like your distribution center or just like your warehouse, if the warehouse is empty, if you have no pages in it, no content in it, no products in it, it's hard to sell something that doesn't exist. So if you're building another website and you don't have content, it's like opening another warehouse and just painting the outside, but not filling it up, not filling up the store. So if you have a website and it's not hurting you right now, don't get a new one. Yes, we're a web company saying don't build a new website just with a new outfit because it doesn't help you. Start here. If you already have a website and it's a WordPress and it's safe and secure, let's just start with some fundamentals that are going to help change who you are to the consumer. Number one, add the e-commerce elements that consumers expect from every big box retailer there is. Make it easy for them to do business, no different than they do business with an Amazon or a Home Depot. It's simple, it's not expensive to be able to add functionality they're used to and they demand in today's environment. The ability to sell products, the ability to sell services, and the ability to sell systems online. Add it to your existing site. Number two, add a capture system. This gives you the ability to text, chat, talk, manage virtual sales, request reviews, everything in one platform. It allows you to be able to communicate with anybody, whether it's midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, or if it's 7 p.m. at night or the middle of the day. The majority of consumers are searching after hours. Next, if every page on your website is like a product in your warehouse, then we should add more of it. Launch a monthly content project, launch a monthly content plan today. Start adding pages to your website for the services you want to sell in the cities you want to sell them so that Google can index you for the things you want to sell that consumers are looking for in the cities you want to serve that consumers live and are searching for. And finally, implement an SEO program. Instead of rebuilding a website and having no traffic, implement a search engine optimization plan that leverages that content to get you ranked on page 1 of Google so you can become an option to those consumers. What good is it to rebuild a new website if you have no traffic? Next. If you focus on adding the functionality that's necessary to do business in today's environment, setting up your store from a technology standpoint, actually doing the things that are going to generate traffic and impressions, then you're going to have enough information to be able to decide who are you selling to, what's important to them, what's your brand promise, how are you going to stand out and differentiate yourself. This is when you sit down with Matthew Plugoff and you guys go through and identify what is your branding strategy, what is your brand promise, what do you want to represent, and how is that going to be integrated. And then you have the information to rebuild a website that actually functions, that actually does something different, that actually stands out and differentiates yourself from every other heating and air conditioning company that exists in the marketplace. That is when price no longer becomes the only deciding factor. Rebuilding a same site when you haven't differentiated yourself does nothing for you. Next, don't ignore your database. You have an existing customer database that cannot be ignored. Implement a top-of-mind marketing program. Next, by now you should be generating leads. People should be doing business with your site. You should stand out from everyone else. You should be generating new opportunities from existing customers. Leverage Tom's team to implement a virtual sales team that's going to help you make progress without you having to expend additional capital on additional resources. Next. Now that we have a functioning business, leads flowing in, differentiation, we've got an excellent sales team, start working on acquiring and remarketing reviews, building your reputation, reinvigorating that brand promise and showcasing it across many different places. Expand your digital footprint by implementing a local listings program. Make sure that your company is properly listed in the top 60 plus local directories so that all of that amazing content can be redistributed and used across many networks. Get social. If people are living in a social environment, it's important for businesses to do that. That is the new place for referrals to take place. And finally, if you wake up and see yourself as being the only one who can do what you do, remember you can clone yourself. You can clone that which is great. That's what we're doing right now. All of us are about to go to work on preparing for the next Thriving in the New Normal series. But these videos are clones of our message, and they're going to work for us to forever, in perpetuity. They're going to grow. You can do the same thing with your own business. Take everything great and digitize it in a format so people can find you while you do something else. So, do the exact opposite of what everyone's always done forever. Focus on getting results, not just rebuilding another website thinking you're going to get different results with the same text, the same content, same pictures, same brand. That's not the solution. The solution is literally cut out the fat, cut out the time. Don't make how fast a website can be built the priority. Make how effective a website can be built the priority. And it requires attention. Requires attention to the things that generate results. And sometimes it means you have to do things exactly the opposite than you've ever done before. Now's the time. With that, thank you so much for attending this series, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Brigham Dickinson, Power Selling Pros.
Jennifer, that was awesome. I'm sure everybody feels that way, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to follow up on that. Killer stuff. Love your passion. Love how you sincerely care about dealers. There's just some things you can't fake, and that empathy, that sincerity, that authenticity, I just freaking love it. So it's been such a joy to work with you, Jennifer, and of course the rest of you guys. So this is the list, right? Take a picture, take a look at it. These are some of the things that we've been over. Approaching customer anxieties with confidence. Look, that was the first time we got together, and man, it was crazy because feelings were raw, and this whole COVID thing was coming down, and we were talking about serving our way out of this. So extremely important message. Emotional needs. Customers have emotional needs. They need you to understand them, right? They need to feel understood. In fact, the main reason why customers stop using you is because they don't feel like they're understood. Not necessarily because of the price or how long it's going to take for you to get out there and get it done. It's because they don't feel understood. They need to feel cared about. They need to feel reassured they've called the right place. All these things they need, and we go over that in that session. Momentum, extremely important to create and maintain momentum. So that's a fantastic session. Call conversions, where your call conversions at. Chances are, if you don't have training, if you don't have anybody holding you accountable, that you're probably around 60%. How do you get it up to 80%? We go over that in that session. Booking every call, even though you're already booked solid. That's when we talked about the urgency list. That was a really good one.
I think we may have lost Brigham here, but I just want to continue. Stephen, you got it?
Yeah, not sure why Brigham froze up, man. But I think we were talking about call conversion, booking every call, selling service maintenance agreements when you set up the appointment. We talked about how to reschedule when they want to cancel. So if they're trying to cancel on you, there's some ways to reach out to them to reschedule, because we don't want people canceling. 5 things you should never say to your customers. So some great verbiage there. The right tech for the right job, which is asking great questions, setting up your service professional for success. The Power Certification Program and what matters first, which was about your people. It's about taking care of your people. And so I think we definitely, we may have lost Brigham, but so those are some of the videos that we did. This is a great slide that Brigham likes to show is, on average, most home services industries book anywhere between 60% or even lower. And when they're an accountable coach, they're doing coaching, they're doing training, you can see what kind of impact that can have when all of a sudden they're booking 85% of those calls. So next slide, where we at, Ben? All right. So learn more about what we call accountability coaching. Power Selling Pros, Jennifer can get you those leads. She can absolutely rock your website. Get the phone to ring. We can help with your customer service reps so that they can win more moments, wow more customers, and ultimately book more calls. So you can easily go to powersellingpros.com. Take a look at that /coaching. We will are here to take care of you. We love being a partner with the Goodman family and everyone that is on this call. So we've got that. And also you can always text POWER, the word POWER, to 713-856-1853. And I'm about to bring it up for our friend David Holt with NCI, the man,
Stephen
the
Dale.
legend, the man. Thank you, David. Thank you,
Man,
everyone.
Appreciate you, Stephen. Appreciate everybody on the call. Man, this has been a great series. I've really, really, really appreciated being a part of it at National Comfort Institute. Is very, very honored to be a part of this. And we'd like to thank Ben Middleton for putting this whole thing together. So high five, Ben. Good job, man. Great job. Thank you so much. So problem identified was our area. All right, we had 15 different segments that we dealt with. And this is kind of a summary of the 15. The first segment, we talked about diagnostic and solution skills, and we focused a lot on the important elements of safety, comfort, and energy as it relates to our HVAC systems. Then we talked about a virtual training strategy with today's situation that we're dealing with as far as the pandemic and other things that are going on. And guys, I don't think this is going away, just so you know, so you better start planning ahead. This may be more long-term than any of us planned, but this virtual training strategy is all about who, what, when, where, when, why, how. Why are we doing this, right? What are the things that we need to do when to make sure our people stay sharp on this? Because we are an essential business. We are still getting called out into the field to do this work. So how are you going to keep your people sharp, right? Well, there's lots of good virtual training out there that's available. My buddy Tom Whitman is teaching the heck out of some virtual sales training. We've got technical training going on at NCI. There's technical and business training going on all over the industry. And certainly with the Goodman Business Toolbox and the Amana Brand Business Academy, there's tons of good resources that are available. Session 3, we focused on sharpening the axe. I mean, it's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, of basically saying, hey, look, I'm going to continue to stay focused on training my people. And we got to, right? Unless you're just shutting down, which hopefully, obviously, if you're here, you're not shutting down. If you're not shutting down, if you're going to fight through this storm, then you got to have people that are sharp. You got to have people that are doing the right things at the right time. So you got to constantly be looking at how they do it and why they do it and when they do it, and make sure that you're doing the things that need to be done. At NCI in session 4, we talked about sharing the knowledge, and we talk about what we call educational sales process, ESP. And in that educational sales process, what we're doing is we're sharing knowledge that we've gained from the customer and from measuring to figure out what's going on with the HVAC system. And in this case, what we're talking about is sharing knowledge about our experiences, our traditions, and so forth, and how we tie all that stuff together. In session 5, we talked about diagnosing progress. I'll get it right in a minute. Diagnosing problems within an organization or within a customer's home. You know, doctors have been doing this virtual doctor's appointment. Why can't we do a virtual sales appointment? Why can't we do a virtual service appointment? You know, back in the day when I was running my dad's business back in the 90s, hard to believe that's been a long time ago. Don't even think about how many years that's been, but back then we would get people calling up and saying, hey, my furnace isn't working. Well, we taught our people on the front lines how to do some initial diagnostic work, make sure breakers aren't tripped, make sure the fan's not on instead of auto, whatever, right? We take them through some quick little diagnostic works remotely. Well, guess what? With today's technology, I can take things like this and I can actually visit the customer's home from right here at my desk. So what can I do to diagnose problems remotely? In session 6, we talked about fan airflow, and this is really a sad accountability issue for our industry. The typical HVAC system installed typically by the low bid contractor is only delivering 57% of the rated capacity of the equipment. So when Goodman Amana builds a 98% furnace, guess what? We're only getting 57% of that capacity to the home. When Goodman Amana builds an 18 SEER, 20 SEER system, we start throwing this good inverter technology in. Guess what? Only 57% is getting to the home. Why is that? Well, it's not because of the equipment. It's because of poor installation practices. So in fan airflow rules, one of the things we talked about is how important it is to measure static pressure and make sure that you understand exactly how much airflow is going across the evaporator or the heat exchanger of that particular piece of equipment. In session 7, we talked about proactive pricing strategies. There's a little analogy with the 3 little bears, right? Too hot, too cold, just right. Well, guess what? Too high, too low, just right is the strategy that we wanted to talk about there in session number 7. In session 8, we had my good friend John the man came in and talked to us about, John Ellis said, look, V is for ventilation, and HVAC, the V stands for ventilation. We want to focus on the ventilation aspects of indoor air quality and how we can make ventilation drive a whole lot of progressive approaches to solving indoor air quality issues through proper ventilation. And then session 9, John came back and he talked about the 5 critical questions that contractors need to ask. Service techs and maintenance techs specifically need to ask when they go on a sales call. And they fall into 5 categories, amazingly enough. What kind of safety issues do we have? What kind of health issues do we have? What kind of comfort issues do we have? What kind of efficiency issues do we have? And then I'm going to let you go to session 9 to figure out what the 5th question is. In session 10, we talked about not behind, pre-sold. In other words, if you have 3 weeks worth of work already booked, right? If you talk to your customer as if you are behind, what that sounds like to the consumer is what? You suck at scheduling. You suck at capacity. You suck, bottom line. You're behind, right? Well, if you're pre-sold, what does that mean? Wow, man, you're in great demand. You're a company that I ought to do business with because obviously there's a whole lot of people waiting in line to get to do business with you. I mean, you think about Disneyland or Disney World. They got long lines normally. They got long lines to get in. Why? Because their product is good. Because their product is good. In session 11, we talked about the high performance tune-up. And if you want to get blown away, think about this. What if you were doing HVAC tune-up without checking refrigerant pressures? Heresy, right? That's heresy. Well, guess what? The refrigerant system is a closed loop system. If it was charged right to begin with, you should never have to touch it again until you uninstall that piece of equipment, right? That's absolutely right. Well, a high performance tune-up helps you understand how you can check the efficiency of that system without putting gauges on it as far as refrigerant's concerned. If you do it right, you never have to put refrigerant gauges on again, ever, until it's time to replace that piece of equipment. In session 12, we're going to investigate, analyze, and quote indoor air quality issues. Investigate, analyze, and quote. My friend John Ellis came back in and pinch hit for me that week. And man, I tell you what, it's the right thing to do. If you understand what's going on with your customer, you investigate, you analyze the findings that you have, and then you quote them appropriate solutions, you can't lose. And then session 13, we talked about thriving. We interviewed 5 different NCI contractors that have been a part of this approach, the high performance HVAC approach that we teach. They've been doing this thing for a long time. We interviewed 5 of them to talk about how are they thriving in the midst of all this chaos and in the midst of all this craziness. So session 13, listen to your peers and hear what they have to say. In session 14, we talked about thinking outside the box. This is your box, right? This is your box. The question is, how do I get this thing to work properly? How do I get my box, my understanding of what's going on in the industry? How can I adjust it so that I can get the proper kinds of results? And then section 15, we tied it all together and we said, this is your box. So it looks like this, right? So this is your box. How do I get that thing, the things that I do now, how do I adjust what I'm doing now to get the results that I'm looking for in the future? So listen, guys, we appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. NationalComfortInstitute.com, 800-633-7058. Give us a call. We'll help you grow your business. I'm going to turn this thing over to my friend, Mr. Tom Whitman. Take it away, Tom.
Thank you, David. And on behalf of myself and HVAC Country Corner, it's been a privilege to serve with everybody on this and also beyond this series. So thank you for that. So if you wouldn't mind advancing once there, Ben, thank you. So we too, it's been quite a transformation for a lot of us over the last 16 weeks. The first 5 was basically, number 1, redefining how customers buy. The virtual comfort advisor, the sales process, listening to understand and delivering solutions. The interesting thing about those first 5 is just 6 months ago, we would have been talking about the time that the comfort advisor knocked on the door. This really forced our industry and to think through this a little bit and take about 4 steps back and begin with how the customer wants to buy. Think about that for a moment. It used to be we told them how they were going to buy from us just 6 months ago. It'll take 60 to 90 minutes. A comfort advisor will come out, evaluate the situation, and then give you pricing options till you're comfortable with the price, or the selling technician would talk to them about a sales. But there's a third option that's becoming incredibly profitable, and 50 to 60% of the time, that's how the consumers want to buy, and that is virtually online when they're going shopping. And what's exciting about this is that when you take all of the talent on this group, what I'm doing wouldn't be possible without everybody on this team playing their part. So the thing is, last week, I think I announced this, and I've gone through 22 applications for those 15 spots. We have 3 spots available now. A few of them just weren't structured enough for something like that. And it's really interesting when we talk about key performance measures, business growth strategy, asking the right questions, optimal season opportunities. But key performance business growth strategy, let's talk about that for a minute. I have one company that's doing about 16 million, and he wants a third avenue for replacements, and we're his team for that now. It's all electronic. I have another company that's doing about 250,000, 2 people, and they don't have enough time to get to all their customers and sell. So we're going to be their selling team when they turn over leads while we're getting his website built to get more of a reach and traffic to the website. And that's going to be a lot of fun to see that company grow with that. And then we have some companies that are just right in the middle. They need some overflow. They have a transient salespeople. So there's a coaching opportunity to develop the culture. It's an opportunity for branding with Matt to get that right. And just the, the possibilities, what this collective group of talent can do for contractors. I've been in this business since '82 and I haven't seen anything like this before. And I'm so grateful for this group, and you should be really grateful for this group too, for the opportunity they serve for you. So the last 5, intention and direction. That was a big lesson for me. My intent was to, well, at the beginning, my intent was a long time ago to, rebuild my life, which we did, but I forgot about it for about 5 years and just kept doing the same old thing without any direction. And then pandemic hit and it forced me to reevaluate things. And it was stunning. When I did, I can tell you right now, I haven't been this excited in 8 years with everything that's going on. Presenting is everything, thriving contractors, about the HVAC Coaching Corner. And then I want to spend a moment on intention and direction. Direction is so critical. What's your path for growth? What's also critical in this entire thing that we're involved with now, with this new normal, is that you have to put a timeline on things. Because if you go past your timeline, if you don't constantly evaluate where you are on a daily basis, personally, business-wise, health-wise, all the factors, then you might just lose direction and become a slave to habit without making progress. And then before you know it, you wake up and it's like, what am I doing? How do I get out of this? But again, if you would one more time, Ben, I'd appreciate that. I'm grateful to being a part of the team. We have a few more openings. So those of you that want to just send an application in, text coach to 713-856-1853. And this team will contact you and go through the evaluation. And if it makes sense for you, engage. If not, by all means, we'll be able to give you some help to go to the next step. So with that, I am going to hand it off to Mr. Matthew Brazis.
Tom, thank you very much, Coach. I appreciate it very much. Love you. Really appreciate everything you've done. Let me say after week 16, how incredibly impressed I am with this group of individuals that are helping us out here. I am super proud, really honored just to be a part of this. Just spending time with Jennifer and David and Tom and Brigham and his team and Matt Plugoff and everybody else. It's just tremendously good information. They've been tremendously helpful personally and professionally. And I think there's a lot of value that's been gotten from this series. And I hope you can go back into this and take a look at some of these videos and use this as an ongoing process. So if we take a look at the 15 weeks from the EGIA's finance, I've kind of put it as if we were bumblebees, right? Just working on our hive, working on our cross-pollinating, working on our hive to create something better, to try to make the entire nest. And I'm not quite sure who the queen bee is. I don't know if Ben wants to claim that or not, but we want to, if we take a look at this, we started off with finance, right? We started off with a little bit of a panic, like how are things going to go? And we talked about your absolute need for making sure you have that digital presence, making sure that you absolutely have a website, and you're working with Jennifer's team to get your website up and get it functionally proficient with finance, right? Make sure you get those offers and very specific, clear offers on your financing all right on your website, and allow people to apply virtually, get them virtually. We talked about the next week, we talked about limiting your programs. Pick 2 or 3. And the most important things that we've got going on right now, and we'll keep stressing this, and we said this over and over again, are 1, come up with the lowest payment possible. If a customer has to have a payment, make sure you use a program that's got the lowest payment fee possible. Use a 699 12 year, 699 10 year to get that payment down. But the single most important loan we were saying, and it has come out to fruition, is using a no payment option, right? Use a 12-month with no payments, or a 6-month with no payments, or 18-month with no payments, because quite honestly, nobody knows how this thing is going to be playing out. And right now, 4 months later, we still don't know how this thing's going to be playing out. So focus on that 12-month or those 18-month no payment solutions, because that is what your borrowers are looking for. Then we talked about dealer fees being not the enemy, right? You can work your dealer fees into your system without having them create an issue. Then we talked about some of the trends in finance, right? And what are you seeing right now in finance, and what's going on? And the 0 for 60 months, we talked about when you go for those 0 for 60 month programs, or those 0 for 48, they sound really good with a 0%. But again, right now, customers are going to be looking for no payments. We then started transitioning more over to how do we present this thing, right? And the one thing we talked about with the KPIs is the biggest KPI you need to use for financing is offer financing 100% of the time, right? If you offer financing 100% of the time, you'll end up financing 70 to 75% of your jobs. Do not use financing the way it used to be used, which was, hey, when somebody raises their hand and says, I need to get financed, that's not the right person. When you lead with the monthly payment or no payments, right, you're going to get more success. We talked the difference between installment versus revolving, and how the revolving programs like Wells Fargo or Synchrony or those kind of programs have always been attractive in the past, but they have those payments, those required payments. Whereas with the installment loans, the ones that we are offering through EGIA, they have the advantage of having those no payment solutions, which we've always thought has been a big important thing to do. We've talked about on week 8, we talked about the way to finance 5%, right? If we put as an average 5% into all of our jobs as an expense, right? And when customers pay cash, that's an expense. We don't use that 5% to drop, because that'll offset those customers who might need a 7 or 9% dealer fee, so that you can get that super low payment. And by averaging those dealer fees, you at 5%, and our example was 5%, you can actually cross everything and make dealer fees not even an issue. Then we talked about some of the different programs we have with cash flow. We certainly talked about a good, better, best. Utilize financing to your advantage. Financing is a sales tool that if you don't really have all the sales tools necessary. So why would you go into a program? Why would you try to close a sale without having all the tools necessary to do that? And why it's important to use financing as the sales tool that can help you. So when you use the good, better, best, use finance selectively and keep those monthly payments all within $5 to $10. So if you're selling a 14 SEER, a 16 SEER, and an 18 SEER, working with the EGIA and finance, we can help you set up so the payments are $130, $135, and $140. And for a $10 difference, people are going to choose that 18 SEER. They're going to choose the higher, more energy efficient, or maybe they're going to go for some IAQ, or maybe they're going to go for some of the other add-ons that you can get that are going to make you more profitable, make you a more successful company, which is what our goal is. And then we started talking about compressed time and how much this new normal, if you want to call it, and I don't even know if we know what the normal is at this point, but this new normal has really changed the way you have to think, and it's changed the way we have to think and the way we train people. So please reach out to us at EGIA, reach out to me, reach out to any of our people, and listen and ask us for what you need. Okay, it's easy for us to get on the phone and tell you what you should be doing with finance. That's easy. What we need to know is, where are your struggles? Where are your problems? What are your concerns? What are things that you can't get over the hump? And allow us to reach out. Because as week 16 this is the honey pot. All this information put together should make us a delicious, nice, juicy honey that is really good information. And again, all these trainers that have contributed to this process, it's a tremendously wonderful process. Ben, can you hit me the next slide? So please, reach out to Mike, reach out to Eric, reach out to me. Some of my cohorts will tell you the easiest way to get me is text at 858-705-5026. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. Allow us to help you do financing. Financing has always been incredibly important. It's even more important now that people are struggling and uncertain of what's going to be going on in this in our economy over the next, who knows, 6 months. Hopefully less than that, but we don't know. With that, I'm going to throw this back over to you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Matthew, and thank you to everybody else that has gone before. So as I look back at our customer for life and all of the topics that we've covered, the overarching theme has been crafting the customer journey or experience, if you will, when you look at how do I maintain a customer relationship for life. And we've covered a lot of great topics and a lot of different things that we've gone through. The first week that we got together was thinking long term. So am I reacting to situations as they come, or am I actually sitting down and thinking long term? And that is a different way of looking at problems or challenges that we have. We may make a different decision if I'm trying to look at what the long-term scope of that problem is. Then in week 2, we got into the virtual presence. When I'm not there, when I'm not right in front of the customer, as we're moving from this transactional type of business to more of maintaining a customer for life and creating this customer experience or customer journey, what things do I have in place? Everybody has heard the story of Honeywell. Nest just recently took it when we do surveys of homeowners and we ask what furnace or what air conditioner do you have in your home. The old response was Honeywell. The new response today is Nest, and as far as the number one furnace or air conditioner that people have in their home. So what are you doing to place your virtual presence in front of that customer so when they do have a problem, they know that you're there to take care of the problems that they have, and it's just a natural reaction to reach out to you and interact with you. In week 3, we really talked about focusing the customer journey, customer experience is not delivered by you, the owner of the company. We're not the face. The face that the customer interacts with is our technicians. It's the customer service rep. It's the comfort advisor. It's everybody else that we're working with. And so how do you recruit and retain your best? You constantly need to be looking for more people. And so what are you doing to attract people in all of the noise that's out there? Are you putting limitations on the people that want to come and work for you? Or are you actually putting benefits that will attract more people to be wanting to come and work for you? And then how do you select the best pool out of that pool of candidates? How do you select the best? And then after you've selected the best and you've brought them on board, how do you retain them? What things do you put in place that are going to make that employee feel valued and feel welcome within your organization? And how do you engage with them to make sure that you're doing all the things that you need to do? Week 4, we got into keeping the promises that you make. And so are you writing checks that you can't cash? I don't know how many times I've seen on websites, on billboards, even on the side of trucks or business cards, 24-hour emergency service. And the customer goes ahead and dials that number, expecting that they're going to get a hold of a live human being because they're in a crisis mode, and they get nothing. Sometimes even during normal business hours, they still get no answer, no response. It goes to a voicemail. And so are we really providing the experience from the expectation that we set that's out there? And so this goes back to thinking long term. What promises am I making as a business, and am I able to keep up with those promises that I'm putting out there? Then we start talking about reoccurring revenue, lifetime customer value. It's no secret in the residential replacement world that the most successful HVAC companies have a strong maintenance agreement program. But that is counterintuitive to the transactional experience that so many businesses find themselves in, because this is a long-term strategy, a long-term play. And when we look at that recurring revenue, I think so many people have also said, well, I'm going to be out in 3 to 4 years. We talk about that 10x. When companies come in and they value a business, there's a 10 times multiplier effect for that reoccurring revenue that your business has coming in. And it's so crucial for you to get that reoccurring revenue, whether it be through maintenance agreements, and even now as we emerge into some of these home automation products that may be available, and looking at how we craft that and put that together. In week 6, we introduced you to the customer lifetime value. We told the story of Hoover. Anybody can go out and get new customers. If you told me I needed 1,000 new customers, I could get you new customers. It may not make sense, though, if I don't know what my customer lifetime value is. Am I overpaying what the lifetime value of that customer is in order to acquire that new business? And so that's one of the things that we need to understand. What is the lifetime value of this customer, and does the acquisition that I'm using make sense to get that customer on board with me? Then we started to divide the different customers that you have into the 4 segments. We talked about the explorer, which was the ideal customer that's always exploring new ways to do business with you. We talked about the vacationer that comes to you and is satisfied, but they may not be there very long. We talked about the prisoner that had to use your service because there was no other option available. And then the freeloader that just looks for the deals that you put out there and those customer acquisition programs that you put out there. And we looked at what the lifetime value of each of these segments was, and we start to think through, how do I attract more explorers and less of the freeloaders? How do I move vacationers to explorers? And how do I get the right type of customers? Then we looked at the aspects of the modifiers in the customer lifetime value. And we talked about the customer acquisition, we talked about customer retention, and then we talked about customer engagement and getting those and developing those customers with ourselves. So under customer retention, we talked about the Net Promoter Score. In week 9, we talked about, our customers dissatisfied. Maybe our customers leave deliberate because of something that we did or said, or maybe it's a lifestyle change and they moved away, or they moved into a home that no longer needed your services, or something along those lines. And we have to understand why our customers are leaving us. And a really good way to do that is understand what that Net Promoter Score is and figure out what we can do to improve our overall Net Promoter Score that we have. Then we got into our customer development. So how do I get more share of wallet for my customers? When we talk about an HVAC business, we understand that a majority of the indoor air quality products today are sold through big box stores, through retail. We also understand that a majority of the home automation is sold through the big box stores and through retail. So how do I increase my share of wallet against the giants that are out there? And how do I create that customer journey and that experience there in developing my customers? We talked about cross-selling and upselling. And so what different tools do I have available? And Matthew's touched on these with financing, Tom with the sales process and what you have available there. Jennifer with the engagement that they have with your e-commerce experience that you have for your customers. And so tying all of these things back together, Brigham and his team have talked about how even your customer service experience can help you with the upselling and finding other opportunities for a customer to engage with you. And then redefining your business. What are the products and the services that we offer? What other adjacent products and services make sense for us to maybe go ahead and grow and expand the footprint of our offerings and what we can do to engage our existing customer base that we have? Then we really started to do some deep dives into who we are as individuals. And we started in the Enneagram. We talked about the different triads that are out there. We talked about the heart, body, and mind, and really went through that. And we identified, do I react and do I think more from a thinking standpoint? Do I do it more from a feeling standpoint? Or is it more of a gut instinct that I have out there? We moved into the stances and we got into the fact that, am I more aggressive? Am I more dependent on what others think? Do I withdraw from others? And when we take those triads and those stances, that ends us up with our Enneagram number in who we really are. As we came to a close in 14, 15, and 16, all of this information comes back to our perspective. And we talked about 3 key concepts that I want you to really walk away with. And number 1 was the totality of truth. Oftentimes, we do not have the whole picture. We don't see the whole picture. And there is a totality of truth, and that was illustrated through the blind men and the elephant. and what their experience was as far as what an elephant was. Then we talked about, am I solving the right problem? So when somebody brings a challenge or a problem to me, and we talked about the elevator problem that was there, and in order to fix the slow elevators, it wasn't a mechanical fix. It was more of a behavioral fix when we looked at it through the eyes of a behavioral scientist and just putting a mirror up in the lobby to help the perception of time pass faster. And last, as far as perspectives, am I hearing what I want to hear, or am I really taking the time to understand what the truth is? And we talked about the Potemkin villages that are out there. And so often we look through that lens of, this is what I want to hear, this is what I expect, and what Potemkin villages do we have in our life? As we start to look through all of these different lenses, that brings us to conflict, because we're going to have this wrestling going on inside of us. And how do we manage that conflict through the 5 different reaction modes that are out there? So you have your compromisers, you have your avoiders, your accommodators, you have your collaborators, and your competing types. And when is the right time to use the right reaction mode? Understanding that conflict is neutral, it's neither good nor bad. And how do we tie that together? As we look at all of this information that we've shared, and that's why I leave the review with the infinity sign. This is a continuous journey that we have going on and on. We're constantly redefining the journey. We're constantly redefining the experience for our customers. And if you don't have a good, solid idea of who you are, what your branding strategy is, you will never be able to begin starting to put together this whole entire journey or experience. So I'd like to turn it over to Matt Plugoff as he kind of puts a capstone on this with your branding strategy and who you are. Matthew?
Thanks, Ben, very much. And to all my colleagues on this call, this has been a real pleasure. Ben Middleton, thank you for putting this together. It's been grounding, and I sincerely appreciate the opportunity. As you said, and there's a simple point to make, and then I think there's a more complicated point to make. The simple point is this: anybody who starts a business does so because they have a fierce and ardent belief in themselves and who they are and what they stand for. In the trades, that question has remained largely tied to technical aptitudes. And in training classes and in multiple conversations, when I have heard people talk about the markets and how competitive it is, the automatic thing that I tend to think about is that the role that the brand plays is fundamentally to help you decommoditize yourself. If you and your company are viewed as a commodity, you can only command a commodity price. And it really is as simple as that. Brands are the DNA of your business. They are the heart and soul of your company. It's more than a font. It's more than a letterhead. It's more than a script. It is the blood in the veins of the business. And to define that gives you a real competitive advantage over the people that you want to take business from. Ben, if you go forward. So the point is really simple, right? If you are tired of competing on price, right? And if you're tired of the old talking points, if you've heard yourself say family owned and operated since 1982 so many times that it no longer feels fresh, then give me a call. Your brand in your company, to Ben's point, is your most valuable asset. Knowing who you are, knowing what you stand for, is your most valuable asset, and it is the most defensible position to take in a marketplace that really does drive toward the middle. And that's the role I have played here. I can help you define your brand and communicate it to the market with the assistance of so many other people on this fantastic series here. So that's the simple point. I think the more complicated point is best articulated by one of my favorite writers, Sister Zora Neale Hurston, who wrote a book, Their Eyes Were Watching God. And it's a fantastic book. And in it, she says, you got to go there to know there. When this series started, we began to go through, in my opinion, a period of social, financial, economic, health, unrest that I've never seen in my entire life. I've never seen anything that we're going through in my entire life. And, you know, historically, we'll probably look back at this and consider it somewhat ephemeral. But when I was thinking about Zora and this great quote, you know, what she's saying is that in order to truly know something, you actually have to walk that mile. And in the course of this series, in the course of all the changes that have been happening, there have been multiple perspectives and there have been multiple opinions. There have been multiple disagreements and equally so multiple agreements. It's impossible to pass judgment on the things around us, socially, politically, in terms of business, what we're doing here from one point of view. And I think that's been the strength of this series, is that you've heard many points of view about how to thrive in the new abnormal, as it turns out. But I think along with that, you also have to commit to unlearning. And I think that's the commitment I'm going to make to my own business and to this series going forward, is that nobody has this figured out right now. Nobody can say, I've got the answer in a box and here it is and it's going to work. Because we all know that's not the case. That we have to continually unlearn the things that have been very reliable in order to create the next survival strategy, the next iteration of our own companies. And that necessitates deep collaboration. It necessitates suspending opinions and judgments, because you do indeed have to go there to know there. Collaboration and unlearning, in my opinion, will ultimately be the two best decisions any of us can make in order to continue to evolve and grow our businesses. And that includes building a brand. So if you're looking for a great summer read, I couldn't recommend it more highly. And to everybody, I hope that you have found value in this series. I have sincerely enjoyed this version of it. Ben Middleton, my hat's off to you, brother. You did a wonderful thing here. And I hope everybody has a safe 4th.
Thank you so much, Matthew, and to all of you again for helping us with this. You know, there's 112 different topics that have been covered over the last 16 weeks. If I were to take every single one of these presenters and say, hey, I need you to come in and do a 2-day workshop or program, there's over $40,000 worth of value from these instructors. Value is probably not, it would be the cost. The value is far more than that. Would be the cost of getting all of these people into one place and having them put together a dynamic workshop for you. What this whole pandemic has done by putting everybody at home and allowing us to do that is giving you access not only to this series, but many other series that have been put together that have high value. So what I can encourage everybody, embrace this technology that we have at your fingertips for learning, for education. Use this series and use the many other series that have been put together by this group of people outside of the Thriving in the New Normal. I know each one of these people have put together many series, and I would encourage you to look for those and look for that information. I would also encourage you to look for other things outside of the industry. Many universities and colleges today are putting tons of content out there free for you to be able to use, to be able to grow yourself individually. So take advantage of embracing that technology that's available to you. And, you know, as we end every single session, arguably, you know, as Matt put it, your brand is your most important asset. What I will tell you is equally to that is your people. Your people that are out there, I can't stress this enough. Continue to thank and encourage all of your people that are working for you. That is what makes your brand. That's what creates that customer journey, that customer experience. And your people are out on the front lines every single day, many of them putting themselves in harm's way during a pandemic. And so continue to thank and encourage them for what they do and for what they bring to the table. I thank all of you that have been watching this program in this series. And I can't wait until we get together again this fall. We have an exciting new series that is being put together right now. And so stay tuned. Over the next couple of weeks, you'll be seeing some information released on what that new series is going to be. you will see our whole entire team back together again this fall. So I'm excited to be able to give you more information on that as we get things put together. If anybody else has any other final words, I'm going to just open it up for a last minute if you have any words for everybody that is on this call.
Go forth and prosper, you guys. Be safe out there.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Every day is a blessing.
Thanks everyone for joining. Cheers to more time, money, and freedom. Let's do the right things in the right order. Thanks, you guys.
Create the wow experience every day, every time. Love your people.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Until this fall, continue to do great things as contractors. We will see you all soon.